Welcome to the Freight Agent Insider Podcast, hosted by Levi Van Pay.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. Good to have you all here. Happy Monday to you. Hope the week is off to a hot start and the freight is moving and you are grooving. I'm admittedly very sick right now, so I'm powering through this, and we've got a great guest who is going to help me power through it. We also might go an hour. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm wearing a new hat. Like, if you've tuned into the show, I always wear the Freight Agent Insider hat, but my dog ate it. Dog ate the homework, so it's gone. I got to get a new one. We're gonna rock the Bucky for a little while. All right, everybody. Before we start, it would mean a lot if you could like, subscribe, all of that good stuff to Freight Agent Insider on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok. We're on all of those. Smash the bell icon for auto alerts to new episodes every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you have any questions for our guests, that includes agents, that includes brokerage owners, that includes completely auxiliary things that are beneficial to agents, ask them. Ask them on freightagentinsider.com. Go to the page, talk to us live, and you can pre-record any questions or comments. We'll play them live on the show for our guests. If you yourself want to become an agent and you have no experience and you have no idea where to start, go to freightagentinsider.com and knock out our Freight Agent Bootcamp. It's a lot of content, and it's all put together with our agent guests, all of their tips, all of their tricks. Get a 25% discount with the code INSIDER. Okay, enough of the show note, boring stuff. We'll get down to the fun stuff. Today, we have with us an awesome lady. She's a brokerage owner, and she's super cool. Everybody, Krystina Booker, KB.
Hi, hello.
All right, quiet, everybody. Enough of that.
I like the claps. Those are cute.
It was a real audience at one point, I'm sure.
Yeah, totally.
KB, thanks for joining us. How's your day going so far?
It's been crazy, but it's been good.
Crazy good?
Which always helps. But yeah, crazy good. Anytime there's freight to be busy with, it's a great day.
That's right. Yeah. Like, the alternative to that of having nothing to do is probably not very lucrative, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends on your mindset. If you're like, I'm over it, I'm burnt out, done with it, which I've been there many times.
Yeah.
Having no freight's kind of nice. But where I'm at right now, when I don't have freight, I'm freaking out a little bit. So yeah, would rather be busy than anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. Before we started, you mentioned that a lot of the freight that you do is like time critical stuff.
Mhm.
How did you get into that? I mean, actually, how did you get into freight, period? But how did you become an expert in like a lot of the time critical freight that you're doing now?
Well, I got into freight just like anybody does. I just kind of stumbled into it, right? Graduated
Yep.
college, had no idea what I was going to do. I
Yep.
went and worked for the government for a little bit and was just
Wow.
glazed eyes, so boring. I could not do it. And I was doing like marketing and communications. I was, going to sites and I was running around, but I was all like half the time I was in their offices or whatnot, and I was just like, I can't do it. So whenever I stepped foot into a brokerage, my
Yeah.
heart was racing. I was like, I love this. I
Yeah.
want to be a part of it. And I was really young, and I just kind of loved it. And then I did the international side first, but I only did operations, like, tracked ocean containers, which was enough for me. I was super excited about it because I got to sit and talk to and get to know, actual brokers on the floor. And then I went and did the domestic side about a year later, 2 years later.
And
And then so it was a cradle to grave role. And
Yep.
I remember my boss was like, "Why do you want this?" I was like, "'Cause I'm hungry and I'm broke and, I wanna make something of myself, and I think this is an opportunity," and it seemed very entrepreneurial. So, I got into it, and, couple months later, I was hitting the top charts or whatnot. We had, like, a little chart, in the brokerage, and
That's
I was
awesome.
coming up at 3 and then 2, and I was like, "Oh, I'm getting up there." So, it was good. And the way that I got into the time critical stuff, was actually I come from, like, an enterprise background.
Mhm.
At my W-2, I ran a lot of dry van freight. It was a lot of packaging, a lot of, dry foods. Didn't really get into, like, the reefer side as much, but very dry van, a lot of contract freight. When I started my MC and my brokerage, well, those enterprise shippers aren't necessarily gonna wanna sign. I'm still in a non-solicit, and so I had to find new customers. The enterprise shippers aren't gonna wanna sign a brand new MC, and with
That's
that,
right.
I would've my carriers are awesome and they were willing to help or whatnot, but there have probably been lanes where I still had to find carriers, and with an MC that new, it's definitely a struggle. So, I went out and I started to seek small to medium-sized businesses, and a lot of it was last minute hot freight, a lot of flatbeds, and so I kind of seek that out, and then I got into the project side of that with a couple of them, and then I got into a project with a huge company,
Mhm.
but I wasn't trying to get their contract freight. So, now I'm working with large companies, but, what you would call whales, but I'm not doing their contract stuff. I'm doing very last minute fall offs, recoveries, all that stuff. I do have
That's
a couple
awesome.
lanes, but nothing super. I'm not locked in for on 300 lanes for the next year or anything like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, really cool too, the path that you took. And I'm excited to talk to you about some of the owning your own MC side of this because I think both of us probably get this question quite a bit. Agent, or should I just start my own MC and own all of it? And the reality of owning your MC, and it's something that not a lot of agents talk about. And I don't know if it's because they don't think about it or if it's because they just don't want to do all of the extra that comes with owning an MC, but you own the equity. As an agent, you own your book of business, but you don't have an equity. Some do. I'm sure that varies from place to place depending on your business. Was that one of the reasons, KB, that you decided to go from the W-2 side directly into owning your own MC and not touching the agent side of things?
Yeah, I would say that's part of it. I'm not going to leave this industry anytime soon. Even if I were to become an agent after I left my W-2, eventually I would have started my own MC, started my own
Sure.
company,
Sure.
right? It's kind of a natural progression of things, I believe. So that was definitely part of it. If I'm wanting to retire in this industry, but to me, that was the way to go. But definitely not retiring
Yep.
anytime soon. I'm still in the baby steps. Yeah.
I remember talking to, Travis Dodge about this quite a bit. He told me he was an agent for a long time before he opened up Wheelhouse Logistics. I believe he's out in California, and it all kind of centered around this, like, I wanna leave something for my kids. If I'm just an agent, I'm making great money and I'm just selling, right? Like, he's probably on the golf course by 4 o'clock if he's got nothing else to do. There's no auxiliary work to do. There's no, he doesn't have to worry about insurance. He doesn't have to worry about factoring or anything else. It's just selling, moving the freight A to B to C, done. But he wanted equity, and that made a ton of sense to me of just, like, having your own operation, and I think probably, KB, correct me if I'm wrong, the hardest part of this whole thing of starting an MC is that, like, initial couple of years where you're probably, less factorable, it's harder to get carriers, but once you're past that, there's nothing stopping you from having your own agent.
Sure. And I think a lot of people who are very serious about that equity from their company actually go and buy an MC that's already established, that
Yeah.
has some weight behind either their name or their credit. I was just not in a financial position to do that. And It was kind of like a test, I said to myself, if this doesn't work out, I can go and be an agent, right? So, it ended up working out, and I'm thankful and grateful for all the things, but definitely not the easiest way to go. And I never push that piece onto people who want to go independent, but just
Yeah.
aren't sure which route to take, which path to take. I never push us to go ahead and start your own MC type deal. Maybe go and sit with somebody who did start with their own
Right.
MC that is early on and see what that's like. See all the roles and all the hats that they have to wear,
Right.
and then make your decision from there.
Let's expand on that a little bit because we talk to a lot of people that are like up in the air on this. Is there a type of personality or a type of individual with a certain level of experience that you would say, yeah, I think you should go for it, start your own MC? Or maybe it's the other way where it's you should probably go agent, or it could be just stay a W2 rep. Maybe we don't really push that on anybody because we kind of want people out of that. But
I'm
you know what I'm
hoping
saying?
that the way that I see the industry is a lot more fragmented than it is now. I mean, we've got your conglomerate brokerages. We all know them. But
Right.
every time I talk to carriers or even my carriers, they're like, "We don't wanna work with them anymore." They hire people who but at the same time, when I say they hire people that don't necessarily know what they're doing, I think that that's important too because I started with you know, a W-2 brokerage role, and I
Right.
had to learn everything that I could. Now, I don't understand the rigorous lawsuits that they do to go after
Mm.
people leading with fear, to keep people
Mhm.
there, even though
Yeah.
they taking commissions from them. Like, that's a real thing, you stay with a company for 6, 7 years, and you're making them millions of dollars, and their thank you to you is, "I'm gonna cut your commissions," right?
It's
And it
incredible.
appears like they give you this illusion of, "You're gonna be making more money, you're gonna be in the senior role, you're gonna be a VP of whatever."
Your
End
family.
of the day, you're looking at right, you're at the we're family, but at the end of the day, you're looking at your paycheck and you're like, "Man, I'm making them $15,000,000 and I'm hitting what, like 100? Not even
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
So, that part to me doesn't make sense. What does make sense is getting brand new people into the industry, maybe come from retail, the service industry, fresh out of college. Like, I hired a college grad, and he was with me for 4 years at my previous
Wow.
W-2 because I did some hiring. He was on my team.
Yep.
Phenomenal, very just I taught him everything, and then he ended up not staying in the industry after I left, but, yeah, it's one of those things where there's definitely a place for these conglomerate brokerages. They do a lot of hands-on training, um, but I also see the industry to be more fragmented, and I hope that people will eventually go and seek that independence so they can see what that's like, get to experience that,
Yeah.
see your your book of business truly become your own and see the kind of control you can have, especially if you're already doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think when you have the budget that some of those massive brokerages have where they can send reps to college campuses and the promise of $100,000 out of school, they have no idea what a non-compete is. They have no idea what a non-solicit is.
I
Do
that's
you
I signed and had no clue. I was not the first thing my lawyer said was, "Did you have a lawyer? Did they even offer you one? Did you have any sort of legal presentation when you were
Mm.
signing these documents?" I said, "No, I didn't even look at him. He didn't even give me a copy." So,
Right.
it's just one of those things where it when you're being hired on, you don't think about it because nobody tells you. But now with LinkedIn and like you talking about it and people like Matt talking about it, I think people are starting to realize, especially the ones that are wanting to come into the industry, like, hey, there is this contract that will probably be put in front of you if you're wanting to, switch to another company or become a broker, and just to be cautious of that.
You would
Because before
think that
that,
it
we didn't have it.
you would think it would make so much more sense to just I don't know exactly how you'd go about this. And actually, speaking of Matt, maybe he does because I think what they're doing at HD Ships with their new in-house brokers, allowing them to grow the book and then eventually switch from W-2 to 1099. I think that's where the industry is heading. And if I'm wrong about that, then I think there's a very solid niche right there, and that will continue to grow in some capacity. But we're just also aware at this point of these legacy brokerages with these, gosh, I mean, throw out 3 letters, throw out any 3 letters, and you're probably gonna get some type of non-solicit or non-compete from one of them, or the trade secret clauses within the biggest 3-letter one that don't allow you to do anything ever. If you know what I'm talking about, I think that's got um, trade company secrets are like lane data, customers, pricing. Pricing fluctuates. Customers are public knowledge. Like, how are
They
these
are public
trade
knowledge,
secrets?
exactly. Carriers are public knowledge. Yep. There are, unless you have a proprietary TMS, or proprietary information, right? But from talking to people in the industry, from seeing what I've seen, a lot of the software and the technology is a lot of it's subscription based. A
Oh
lot
yeah,
of these companies are open to working with anybody, and so they're public, right? Um, not to say that these conglomerate brokerages don't have proprietary systems. I'm sure they do. You get big enough, you're going to want one of your own. But it's not that these brokers are going and they're taking that, right, and using it for themselves or stealing
yeah,
the software itself, right? I think more
that's
so they're
right.
talking about the information, which doesn't make sense because it's very public.
That's right. KB, maybe we can do this hang on one sec here. Let's do this.
Sure.
While we're on the topic of non-solicits, you mentioned that you had one or you have one. Maybe you can kind of point us all in the right direction of like what to look for with these things. And just a quick one to throw in here is there's a lot of companies that will like lace a bonus letter. Like you've been with the company for 2 years, you've never had any type of non-compete, non-solicit, nothing. And all of a sudden you get this $2,000-3,000 bonus and there's 6 pieces of paper. You got to sign the last one. Somewhere in the middle, there's this little thing that's like non-compete, non-solicit, 2 years, boom. And you signed it. Now you're
Is that a
stuck.
thing?
That's a
Have you?
thing.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a thing. All right. So I'm sorry. I kind of derailed that, but
No, it's okay.
um, you've been through it, you're living through it or lived through it. What are your tips on this for the younger generations to avoid non-solicits while trying to actually get into this industry grow book?
I am not sure there's a way to necessarily avoid them. Just know what you're signing. Before
Mm,
you sign, I know it's exciting and you're ready to get started and you have this like vision of, oh, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to be this broker, I'm going to make all this money. Take that contract, take that non solicit, go to a lawyer. A lot of lawyers will look over it for free, and if one tries to charge you bukus of money for it, go to another one. Somebody will be kind enough to look over it and help you. Who doesn't want to help a young kid that's just wanting to get into an industry, right?
that's right.
Um, so that would be my first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is try to negotiate on the non-solicit, or non-compete or whatnot. If it's a non-compete, negotiate out of that. You don't want to be limited to that. What if you come into this role, you like I was, and you're absolutely
Yep.
in love with the industry. Luckily
Yep.
my first brokerage did not have a non-compete. So I was able to move on to my second brokerage. Now, had the first one had a non-compete, I wouldn't have gone to become a domestic broker and eventually start my own company, right? So try to get out of that. And those would be my two pieces of advice. Seek legal representation for any legal binding contract that you sign,
Yeah.
and then negotiate the hell out of it. Negotiate it because the contract that they give you, they write it. It's on
That's
their
right.
terms. It is
That's right.
only going to benefit one party. But if you negotiate it to at least benefit you in some way, you can have a mutual understanding.
Yeah. And this is where the little guy, the little gal, little KB just getting into the industry, if you go to, again, one of the big 3-letter brokerages out there, if you say no or you try to negotiate it, good luck because they're going to say adios and then they're just going to get exactly.
There's so many brokerages out there. You can learn so much from a small to medium sized brokerage, if not
That's right.
more. right? Then you can, I know that a couple of the brokerages that I interviewed at, I think one was Coyote, they had like a 2 or 3 week training where they just train you. And then the
Yep.
ones that I worked at had no training. It was very sink or swim. That's the only, variable there. That's the missing component. You don't actually get the structured training that you might want. But there's so many resources out on the internet, like especially with AI, you can basically like get on ChatGPT and say, how do I become a freight broker? I'll probably walk you through how to do that, right? But the biggest thing is just getting your hands dirty and doing it, right? Like
That's
making
right.
the calls, sitting down and making the calls, making the mistakes. Like that's the best way to learn.
It is. It is. I said this on the last, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I think it was with Lacey Lampel. I said my favorite. I'll repeat it again. If you've already heard the last time I said, I'm going to say it again because it's just such a good quote. If you want to take the island, burn the boats. Plan B is just
Great.
a distraction from plan A. You like that? I love it. It's my
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with AI, I mean, yeah, it's so easy to figure out all of these like you don't need to be a tax expert. You don't need to know how to set up an LLC or all these things. Like AI is right there for you. And KB, you mentioned that you yourself do some training with these younger generations of individuals that are
I kind of
sorry if
got
I
in.
got that wrong.
No, it's okay. I kind of got into it as a side hustle, but then I had to kind of pivot and just fully solely focus on my business. I am the type of person that, like, if I have an idea about something, nobody can talk me out of it. I have to see it for myself.
I love
But
that.
it was definitely the wrong train that I got on, and I had to get off on the first stop because I just did not have the time for it. Maybe down the line when, I'm not so into my day to day, then I can kind
Yeah.
of go back to it. But basically, I had a newsletter where I talked about sales and I helped, younger brokers or newer brokers that wanted to either get into the industry or go independent, but they don't necessarily aren't very comfortable with the sales aspect because my
Yep.
biggest thing is if you want to go independent, if you don't have an established book of business, you absolutely have to be good at sales.
That's
That
right.
that is a non-negotiable. It's unfortunate because not a lot of people are great at sales, but it is a skill that you can learn. At the end of the day, it is a skill and it's very trainable.
That's right. I gosh, I got my sales acumen from doing door-to-door window sales.
I'm
It was a friggin'
great.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Listen, I can sell water to a dolphin, but, if you if you go through that, you'll get a sales acumen, or talk to KB would probably be much more niche specific.
Very
Let's
industry specific. That's all I know.
yes.
I've not sold in any other industry. The brokerage industry is the only selling I've ever done.
I can tell you stay away from Windows, it's not fun. KB, let's back up a little bit. I really like where we were going with the owning your own brokerage thing. We haven't really talked about this too much, but there's obviously some differentials in day to day. There's some differentials in costs associated with, agent versus owning an MC, owning all of it versus giving up a percentage as an agent. What is your overhead like pertinent information or like, you don't have to give away like your secrets on this or anything like that, but like just a typical overhead cost of running a brokerage. What does that look like? And did you think about that while you were tossing around like maybe going agent or owning your own MC?
Yeah, the overhead costs are not cheap, but they're not anything absurd either. But also, I'm not hiring a lot of people. From my experience, my highest costs were employees. So that's definitely a lot of it. A lot of our industry is subscription based when it comes to the technology and the softwares, and the software. So that's definitely a big piece of it. But I definitely considered it. I don't not you whenever you're going in and you're having to start from scratch, having to start completely fresh, you don't want to get on that all that debt on you, right? So,
That's right.
especially when you're not sure what kind of money you're going to be bringing in and what that revenue will look like. So, definitely it's substantial and it's not easy and it's an obstacle. the biggest thing, the one thing that I did was I basically locked myself into this office until I started generating revenue. And I mean, I was lean, you know. My
Yeah.
TMS was $99 a month, you know. Um, I did end up getting insurance, which was, you know, it was like in the thousands, which was not ideal, right? But it was manageable. I think that's what surprised me the most about it because I was like a squirrel before I started. I was like stashing all my gas. I I thought that it was going to be
Yeah,
like,
for
you
sure.
know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's not. But it's costly, but it's not anything crazy.
Yeah, and so okay, so the burn the boats quote really resonates with you. You literally lived that.
Love it. I literally did
That's what
that.
I'm talking about.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
the other day, KB, we were talking about, like, dialing this episode up to 10, and I don't know if we've really done that yet. So let's let's get some questions going to dial this thing up a little bit. What is the wildest load you've ever booked?
You're not gonna like my answer because I book a lot of boring stuff, man. I come from a dry van like packaging world. So that's all I did. Dry food, you know, canned food, canned juice.
So no
I don't know.
live chickens.
No live chickens, and I'm also, like, very if anybody knows me, I'm very, like, risk adverse, which is interesting because went out and started my own MC in the middle of a freight recession, but I am
Yeah,
very risk adverse. So, I anything that even when somebody's like, "I have a load of alcohol," like, I know I can move beer without, an alcohol license or whatnot, but I'm
yeah.
still like, "What's in the beer?" Is it like, "Can you give me the ingredients?" I'm yeah, I don't know. I'm kinda boring when it comes to the type of freight I run.
But that money is still green. Okay, how about this one? What is the craziest shipper or carrier story that still makes you laugh or cringe?
Man, I've had, I've had this, lady from I guess she was, like, New York City. Like, she had a
Yeah.
business in New York City, and it was just, like, one of those random calls that I made. And it was when I first started my MC, and I was so excited,
Mhm.
and she was kinda like, "I don't know if I should give you a shot." Anyway, it ended up going horribly, but she was really cool about it. I don't know, and she, like, called me and she was like,
Yeah.
"Your driver showed up and he had his entire truck was full of freight, and he came to pick up my stuff. I have nowhere to put it." I was like, "Wait a minute, he showed up and his trailer was full," and she's like, "What am I supposed to do?" And I think he was, like, asking if he could, like, unload the stuff at her. I was just like,
My
"Listen, if
gosh.
you never give me another load again, I complete." And it was, like, in New York City. I don't even understand. Yeah, it was wild.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, but she was
Alright,
kinda cool
KB.
about it. It's like, "I can't believe that he showed up." But
That's that's wild. I did driver recruiting for a good long while, and man, the driver comedy is endless. Like, there's a lot of I mean, they're great. They're great. The majority are great, but there are some funny individuals in there.
absolutely, the flip-flops get me every time.
The flip-flops.
Yeah,
We,
one of my shippers, I do some projects where he's like, "Hey, can you make sure that the drivers are, like, wearing clothes and, like,
yeah,
I'm talking about, like, steel toe boots and hard hats?" And he's like, "No, man, just, like, T-shirts."
pants.
Yeah, we had, like, one that showed up without a shirt, and, I mean, he was a super nice guy, and I can't t and I tell him I don't know what they're wearing when I'm on the phone, that's not one of my prerequisite questions for vetting, like, "What you
Yeah,
wearing?" "Can you please make sure you're wearing clothes when you show up to." But, yeah, like, if you would think that if you're going to a job site, right, like, you please, but, that's not always the case, so it's definitely interesting, but I think of myself as a broker for the carriers. I
yeah,
love my carriers. I love building relationships. Every time on the phone with a carrier, even if it's off of a load board, thing
yeah,
that goes through my mind is how can I turn this carrier, if it's a great MC, and it's an
yeah.
area where I move a lot of freight, into a repeat partner? First question, and so I go with it with that mindset.
That's great. Yeah, I think, who's Anik, she said kind of something similar where she really tries to be an advocate for both her customers and carriers and be a salesperson for both sides, keep
Both
carriers
sides.
moving. Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
sides. Yep. You are a salesperson for both sides. And I
Yeah.
don't think that a lot of people realize that because I
No.
have seen brokers be one person to their customers, turn around and just treat their carriers like shit. And it's like,
Yeah.
you do realize that they are going to pick up your customer's freight. You are the carrier to your customer. And so they don't they don't care as much about anyway, I just lost
Yeah.
my thought, but you know what I'm saying, like,
Oh,
please
yeah.
treat both sides with the same amount of respect.
I got one for you here, KB. So something I was really curious about with owning your own MC is how you have, or rather how you find the time for the operational side of things. I think you mentioned that you're doing a lot of the operational work yourself. How do you balance that with finding new customers? Because I know you said you've landed a couple new ones recently.
Yes, so, I mean, it's just about time structuring, time organization. I prospect every minute that I have left. There'll be times where I'm prospecting on Friday night, sending people LinkedIn DMs about, my company or, just starting conversations or whatnot. So I think that's a lot of it. And just keeping in the back of my mind that I always have to be growing my book of business.
That's
And
right.
if I get busy on the operational side, I bring somebody in to kind of relieve that work off of me.
Yeah. Is that your typical outreach pathway? The LinkedIn Messenger, like, do you do a lot of cold calls? Is there one way that you find is more beneficial than others?
Recently, I've been starting more on LinkedIn. I've had a couple of inbound um, leads come in, which I was surprised because it's not very common for shippers. A lot of shippers on
Right.
LinkedIn are what we call lurkers, I would think. They don't necessarily engage. Like a lot of LinkedIn, and is predominantly freight brokers or people
That's
on
right.
the supply chain side. I think there's like one or two shippers that are like engaging and posting consistently or posting even every once in a while.
Mhm.
So the fact that somebody reached out to me and I don't even think we were connected. They were like, "Hey, your one of your posts was suggested to me." You know how LinkedIn will do
Yep.
suggested they do through the feed, and so he called me, he found my number, he called me, and I ended up getting freight from him, and that's happened twice now, and in the last, like, 3 months. So,
It's incredible.
now I kinda switch my strategy just depending, like, if I'm not posting a ton on LinkedIn or if I'm not active, I will do more cold calling and email or in
Yeah.
person. If I am posting a ton, I'll wanna kinda send out messages and they're not necessarily like selling. I'm just starting conversations with,
Yes.
logistics managers, transportation managers, and then later selling later in the conversations when they, off of LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, I do the same thing, and I advocate for the exact same thing. Like any recruiter out there, I kind of go the route of, like, I'll literally say, like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you. I hope you have a great year," and I'll literally leave it there for maybe forever. Maybe something comes back and the conversation picks up, but there's like a natural chemistry even on Messenger, like people will dance with you or they won't. And if they don't respond or they're cold, maybe they're that square peg in the round hole. You can push if you want to. And Christina, I don't know if you push through that. I typically don't.
I used to a lot. I mean, I would say that my sales style has evolved a lot through the years. When I was a newer broker, I was very pushy. And I mean, I just did
Yeah.
not know. I thought that sales was about convincing. Um, it wasn't for, I would say, 3 years down the road that I was like, "It's not about persuasion or convincing anybody,"
Right.
right? It's more about the fit and just coming at them with value, and if they see it and they want to work with you, they're gonna tell you, they're gonna let you know. You don't have to push them in a corner and make them say yes. It doesn't work that way. I think that's a big misconception about sales, but, I
I
used to do that
agree.
early on, and um Obviously, after learning that it doesn't work, you try a different tool and it works better, right? So, at the end of the day, especially now with AI and the direct messaging, the personalized AI messaging, which is personalized, but it's so robotic, and shippers just get hit with it nonstop because these brokerages now can be like, well, I will send 100,000 emails with this AI, right? And so, I mean, I think that shippers are getting hit with outreach at an unprecedented like rate. And
I
so
think
you
you're right.
almost have to be human to stand out. You have to, you have to be personable to stand out.
Yeah, people skills are going to become invaluable in the next 10, 20 years.
I think so too.
I was out to dinner last weekend and my waiter, this is such a small sample size and listen, I left a large tip regardless, so don't come at me. Um, but my waiter was a young guy. He was probably 16, 17 years old. I didn't hear him say one word the whole time. Not one word. And that's a people business. Like you're making your tips off of. So suffice to say, because we get a lot of people on this side of the business that come from that world, it's important. Like put yourself out there. Be human, be yourself, showcase your personality because that's how you're gonna find customers. Literally before we hopped on KB, I was having a conversation with uh a W-2 guy who did wait out his non-solicit. He's coming up on the end of it. And he saw an episode of me, Reagan, and Kobe Baskin. And he's like, wow, I want to reach out to them. And I think that dude is going to go work at Cowtown now because of that. So, and he said he wanted to reach out to them because he really felt comfortable with what they were saying. They showcased themselves very, very well and they're truly
Exactly.
genuine people.
Connected with the human side of them, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's very important. It's funny that you mentioned that. I was reading something about Gen Zers and the Gen Z stare, where they don't. Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
I've seen this.
Yeah, where they just kind of stare at you and don't talk to you, and you kind of they kind of expect you to know or whatnot. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a millennial, so I would talk her. I mean, I'll tell you everything and
Right.
more. Um, so it's kind of interesting. But I have a Gen Z employee. He's phenomenal. He works very hard. I think it just depending on the person, but yes, I would say that AI is definitely affecting the younger generations. I mean, I would say even the millennials. I think that they were doing a study where people, when you're actually typing and writing, when you're reading, when you're having a conversation with a person, there are certain parts of your brain that light up and they create new neural pathways.
Yeah.
But when you're consistently talking with ChatGPT and you're letting ChatGPT or AI do that work for your brain, just like any muscle, it stops working or it gets weaker, right? So that's something that I don't think the AI gods or whoever, that
It's
created
wild.
all this AI think about, but it's definitely weakening human capacity in a way.
I think so too, and I think just communication skills are just getting bad.
So bad.
And a side note on the AI thing, I shared a video on TikTok with a couple of my agent friends yesterday, and it was one of those AIs where I think it was like the AI dispatcher, and it sounded very, very real. It was a female voice, and the guy is talking with this robot, and he asked to be paid in burritos. The AI gave him a price of like $1,780, whatever. He's like, I need 2,000 burritos. And the AI was like coming back at him with like super relevant responses.
Really?
It even said like it said something along the lines of like, don't worry, AI isn't going to take all of your human jobs yet. It was so ominous. I'm so terrified of
That
AI.
that is ominous. I'm not terrified of AI. I think it's quite a bubble that will eventually burst.
You're stronger than me. You're stronger than me.
I use it, but I'm trying to lean more away from using, especially when it comes to like writing. There was a time where I came there when AI first came up. I remember and this is when I first started posting on LinkedIn. Like, that was all my LinkedIn posts. I would just type something into, Chat GPT. I mean, this is when it was first on the scene.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, it would spit something out. I was like, "This is cool." And then I'd go and, like, copy, paste. Well, obviously, I don't do that now, but there's still a lot of people that do. Um,
There's a lot of people.
there's a lot of people that do. And I think as human beings, we can quickly tell if AI has been in the mix or not in some way or in some capacity. And I know even with
Oh, yeah.
LinkedIn's algorithm will flag posts that they deem as AI, that have AI, that AI has helped
Yeah.
write, or it's an
Yep.
AI image. I think they actually flag an AI image and put like a little logo on it. Um, but then they won't push that in their algorithm if they deem that it has a lot of AI on it.
It's just
But they
soulless.
do
Like, there's
that
no
with
other way to
AI.
put it.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, we can all see it. Like, for any of you that are using some type of, like, automated outreach, first of all, I know right away because 'cause I'll get a message on LinkedIn, it's like, "Hello, Levi Van Pay." Like, it won't even, like, knock off my last name, it has to include that. But even if it doesn't, like, it's soulless. Like, there's no personality to it. It's so, like, cookie cutter or dry. Ah, just do the legwork, man. Like, just send a
Yeah.
message.
And sales is already so, like, it can be so soulless in a way already. A lot
Mm,
of the times when you're reaching out, you're, like, tired, you've reached out to, like, 300 people before that person, right? You don't want to think about how can I show my personality into this one message, right? That's already hard. Um, so it's, adding another layer of robotic
yeah.
nuance to it will, of course, make your prospect be like, definitely not replying to that." I saw a screenshot. There was an AI that reached out to somebody and they were like, "Hey, blah, blah, schedule a link here." And the person replied and it was like, "Hey, if you would have looked, at first it didn't look like AI. Hey, if you would have looked on my profile, you would have seen that I have nothing to do with recruiting. And so, obviously I'm not interested." And the AI came back, was like, "Great, here's the link."
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
yeah, it just yeah, even if the
I
person doesn't catch on that it's an automatic AI, they will eventually.
Yeah, I had an email like that the other day. It was asking me to come onto a podcast that's within the logistics world. And I was like, "Ooh, I'm excited for that." I've never been asked
Sure.
to go on another podcast.
Yeah.
And I asked who the host was and what the show name was. I got an email back like 3 seconds later and it was basically the exact same thing. So then I asked again and it said the same thing again. I'm like, "Oh, screw this. Now I know this is AI. This is ridiculous."
It's more automated. Maybe a person wrote it, but then they automated it because there's 2 different avenues that a lot of people are using, automation and AI. A lot of the times it's together, but yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Stay frosty out there, everybody. If you just do the legwork, listen. I used to live in Las Vegas, and there was a period where I did serving, like like I was a waiter at this place called Burger Bar, and the best servers. I keep talking about servers in this episode, but the best. It's just relevant. The best servers they just were always able to pull out their personality no matter how tired they were. And it's obviously different from what we're doing, but if you can showcase your personality in some capacity, I'm telling you, it goes a long way. Krystina, we are at the hour. I'm at the hour of passing out from the sickness.
Oh,
Let's
I hope you
let's
feel better. I know what it's like to be
thank
sick.
you.
I'm surprised
Let's
you even came on the podcast, so
I'm
props
a
to you.
champion. I'm a warrior.
Yeah,
Thank you,
you're
KB.
sure.
Let's wrap this up with your any like tips you have for the people watching, or just a general advice.
General advice, I mean, just go get it. Make the calls, do the thing, learn what you gotta do, and get it. Yeah, trust yourself, bet on yourself as much as you can.
Bet on
If that means
yourself.
go independent, weigh out all your options, and, yeah, wanna see a lot of people succeed.
And lean on the community that we're building. Like I genuinely believe that we have a really nice community that's starting to grow within the LinkedIn world. We're all willing to help. There's a lot of experts. I'm not saying I'm an expert. There's a lot of experts that come on this show. Every single one of these people is willing to help you if you want to get a foot in the door.
Absolutely. Sure.
Oh,
If I've ever had a newer broker or somebody that's in a different industry, reach out and say, "Hey, I want to get in this industry. Tell me what it's like." I will take a few minutes and I'll tell you. I mean, I won't be able to get on an hour or two call,
right.
right? Because my time has to be worth something, and am
That's
running a
right.
brokerage. But if anybody has a question, just DM me, ask me. Hey, Christina, what's it like to run a W-2? If you had to pick being an agent or starting your own MC, if you could go back or whatever, if this is my situation, what would you pick type deal?
Yeah. Be the squeaky wheel. They get the most attention. They're a little annoying, but that's why they get the attention. Be that.
That's true.
All right, KB, thank you so much for joining. Everybody, thanks for watching. New episode next week. Be there or be square, 9 a.m. Central
Don't be
Time. Freight
square.
Agent Insider. Don't be a square.
Be a square.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the Freight Agent Insider Podcast. Like us and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, and LinkedIn